For years, Dakota Johnson has mastered the art of keeping her personal life just out of reach. No announcements. No dramatic reveals. No social media soft launches. But this time, she didn't say a word, and somehow said everything. One quiet night in Los Angeles, one set of photos, and suddenly the internet was asking the same question. When did this happen? Because the man by her side wasn't another Hollywood insider, and the way they looked together made it clear this wasn't just a rumor anymore. And once you see how this relationship started, and why fans think it's different from anything Dakota's done before, the story gets a lot more interesting the moment the photos surfaced. Everything shifted. Dakota Johnson wasn't dodging cameras or slipping into a back entrance. She was out in the open, smiling, relaxed, and completely unbothered. Sitting across from her at a cozy Los Angeles restaurant was singer role model, and the energy between them felt unmistakable. They leaned in close, locked into conversation, laughing like no one else in the room existed. When they stepped outside, it became even clearer. The two were photographed walking side by side, hands intertwined, with no attempt to hide what was happening. For someone as famously private as Dakota, that single detail spoke louder than any press statement ever could. This wasn't a blurry sighting or a convenient coincidence. It was intentional. Her look only added to the message: effortless, understated, confident. His was just as casual, almost intentionally low-key. No flashy outfits. No dramatic poses. Just two people moving comfortably together, like this wasn't their first night out, and definitely not their last. And that's when fans realized this wasn't about being seen. It was about not hiding anymore. But the truth is, this night wasn't the beginning of the story. It was the moment everything finally caught up, long before the hand-holding photos made headlines. There were already whispers. Back in December 2025, Dakota Johnson and role model were spotted at a candlelit dinner in Los Angeles, tucked away with a small group of friends. No PDA, no obvious signals. Just two people seated a little closer than expected, talking longer than necessary. At the time, most fans brushed it off. Hollywood dinners happen every night, and Dakota's always been known for keeping her circle tight. There were no follow-up sightings, no paparazzi chase, no social media breadcrumbs to dissect. If anything, the silence made it easier to ignore. But as weeks passed, fans started connecting dots. The timing felt deliberate. The setting felt intimate. And the fact that neither of them shut the rumors down only fueled the curiosity. It wasn't loud enough to confirm anything, but it was just enough to make people pay attention. And that's when the speculation shifted from coincidence to something else entirely. Because this wasn't how Dakota usually let rumors linger unless there was a reason. And once people realized that, the conversation exploded. When the photos hit social media, the reaction wasn't just excitement, it was confusion. Not because Dakota Johnson was dating again, but because of who she was dating. A Hollywood actress with decades in the spotlight, suddenly linked to an alt-pop artist, nearly a decade younger. Instantly threw expectations out the window. Fans started digging fast. The age gap became the first talking point, but it didn't stop there. Dakota has always moved within the film world. A role model comes from a completely different lane, smaller venues, emotionally raw music, and a fan base that lives online. It felt like two worlds colliding, and people weren't sure how to process it. Some saw it as unexpected, but refreshing. Others questioned how serious it could be. And then, there were the fans who went straight into analysis mode, breaking down body language, revisiting old interviews, and even scanning his lyrics for hidden meaning. The internet thrives on patterns. This pairing didn't fit any familiar one. What made it even more surprising was how calm they both seemed. No dramatic rollout. No cryptic captions. No carefully staged debut. Just a quiet confirmation that somehow made more noise than any announcement ever could. And that's when people started asking a deeper question. It's not just why this relationship shocked everyone, but why Dakota chose now to let it be seen at all. To understand why this relationship feels so unexpected, you have to look at how Dakota Johnson has always handled love. Despite growing up around Hollywood, she spent most of her adult life doing the opposite of what people expect from a celebrity. No oversharing. No public timelines. And almost never any explanations when things end in the past. Dakota's relationships stayed quiet until they didn't exist anymore. Fans often found out after the fact, piecing things together through old interviews or subtle comments that only made sense in hindsight. She's always drawn a clear line between her work and her personal life, refusing to turn romance into a headline, even when the interest was intense. That's what makes this moment stand out. Walking hand in hand through Los Angeles wasn't accidental. It wasn't careless. For someone who knows exactly how attention works, letting cameras capture that level of intimacy sends a message. Not to the press, but to herself. Some fans believe this signals a shift. Others think it's simply a sign of comfort, of not feeling the need to control the narrative anymore. Whatever the reason, It's clear this isn't Dakota acting out of character, it's Dakota choosing when to be seen. And that choice becomes even more interesting when you look at the man on the other side of the story, because his world operates very differently. Once role models' names started trending alongside Dakota's, fans immediately did what they do best. They went searching for clues. His music, already known for being deeply personal, suddenly took on a whole new layer of meaning. Listeners began replaying lyrics, pulling lines out of context, asking whether certain songs were inspired by someone very specific. To be clear, none of this has been confirmed. But that didn't stop speculation from spreading fast. Online discussions pointed to themes of emotional growth, unexpected connection, and timing finally lining up. Some fans even claimed his recent performances felt different, calmer, or grounded though. That's entirely subjective. What made the buzz even louder was how protective his fan base became. Many saw the relationship as a turning point, while others worried about the spotlight that comes with dating someone as high profile as Dakota. It wasn't criticism, it was concern, mixed with curiosity. And while there's no proof that his music is about her, the overlap in timing was enough to keep the theories alive. Because in the world of celebrity relationships, silence doesn't stop speculation, it amplifies it. And that leads to the biggest question fans keep circling back to. What exactly is this relationship meant to be? That question is exactly what no one can seem to answer. And that uncertainty is what keeps the conversation alive. Neither Dakota Johnson nor role model has made any public statements. No interviews. No captions. No official confirmation beyond what the cameras captured that night in Los Angeles. But in Hollywood, actions often speak louder than words. Holding hands in public isn't casual, especially for someone who has spent years avoiding moments like that. Fans quickly pointed out that this didn't feel like a test run or a fleeting headline grab. It felt settled. Still, it's impossible to know what's happening behind closed doors. Some reports suggest they've been seeing each other quietly for weeks. Others claim this was simply the first time they felt comfortable being seen together. There's no evidence either way, just carefully placed moments that hint without explaining. What's clear is that there's no rush to define anything. And that may be the point. No pressure, no rollout, no forced narrative. Just two people moving at their own pace while the world tries to catch up. But there's one detail most people are overlooking, and it might explain why this relationship feels different from anything Dakota's done before. That question is exactly what no one can seem to answer, and that uncertainty is what keeps the conversation alive. Neither Dakota Johnson nor role model has made any public statements. No interviews. No captions. No official confirmation beyond what the cameras captured that night in Los Angeles. But in Hollywood, actions often speak louder than words. Holding hands in public isn't casual, especially for someone who has spent years avoiding moments like that. Fans quickly pointed out that this didn't feel like a test run or a fleeting headline grab. It felt settled. Still, it's impossible to know what's happening behind closed doors. Some reports suggest they've been seeing each other quietly for weeks. Others claim this was simply the first time they felt comfortable being seen together. There's no evidence either way, just carefully placed moments that hint without explaining. What's clear is that there's no rush to define anything. And that may be the point. No pressure, no rollout, no forced narrative. Just two people moving at their own pace while the world tries to catch up. But there's one detail most people are overlooking, and it might explain why this relationship feels different from anything Dakota's done before. What really sets this relationship apart isn't the age gap or the unexpected pairing, it's the timing. Dakota Johnson is at a point in her career where she no longer needs to prove anything. She's choosing projects on her own terms, stepping away from Hollywood expectations, and moving with a confidence that doesn't require approval. Role model, on the other hand, is rising but not chasing the spotlight in the traditional way. His success lives in sold-out shows, emotionally honest music, and a fan base that values authenticity over image. That contrast matters. There's no competition here. No overlapping lanes. No pressure to perform for the same audience. There's also the absence of noise. No red carpet debut. No coordinated outfits. No carefully timed exclusive. In an industry built on control, this feels refreshingly unpolished. Almost private, despite being public. Some fans believe that's exactly why it works. Different worlds, similar values. Space instead of spectacle. And maybe that's why Dakota looks so at ease in those photos. Not because she's showing off a relationship, but because she isn't hiding one, and as quietly as this story began, it leaves one final question hanging. Not about where this goes, but whether we'll ever really know it all at the end of the day. This story isn't really about a dinner date or a set of photos. It's about control. For years, Dakota Johnson has let people speculate from a distance, choosing silence over explanations. And this time, she didn't break that pattern. She simply adjusted it. One quiet moment, one visible choice. And suddenly the narrative shifted without her having to say a single word. As for role model, being pulled into a much bigger spotlight could change everything or nothing at all. Maybe that's the appeal. No grand reveal. No promise of permanence. Just something unfolding naturally while the world watches from the outside. Trying to label it, whether this turns into a long-term relationship or fades back into privacy, one thing is clear. This wasn't accidental. It was deliberate in the quietest way possible. And in an era where celebrity romance is usually loud, messy, and overexposed, that might be the most surprising part of all. Because sometimes, the relationships, that say the least, are the ones people can't stop talking about.